Okay, so the notes we're taking today are going to be part of NS3c, which is multiplying decimals, okay? But we're not going to actually multiply decimals today. We're going to take a look at multiplying and what it really means to multiply, okay? So we're going to use something called the distributive property to multiply. So I can use the distributive property and in parentheses write kind of to multiply. Okay, so let me explain that. Okay, I wrote kind of because the method we're going to use today is at heart the distributive property, but we're not going to set it up like we typically would when we use the distributive property in, like, say, algebra. And later this year, when we start our algebra section, you will be using the distributive property quite a bit, but it will look a little different than it does right now. Okay, so this is a good it's a good break, not really a break, but it's a good point to take a look at how distributive property is used and see how it works, and then we'll be continuing with it later. But this is a good way to get you to look at how numbers can be broken up, I guess. Okay? So, what does all that mean exactly? Let me show you. For example, if you had 8 times 43, okay? That means you have 8 ones. Okay? So you have 8 times. Now the 43 can be kind of broken up. Okay? We can say 43, that means you have 43 ones, but also means you have 40, as in 4 tens, right? 40 plus 3 ones. Okay? So 40 plus 3 ones is another way that we could look at 43. Okay? So that's pretty simple concept. You're just separating out the tens and the ones. So 40 plus 3. So 4 tens, or 40, plus 3 ones. Pretty simple? Okay? Now, here's where it actually becomes the distributive property. Okay? Because the distributive property tells us that we could also look at the number and multiply it a little bit differently. We could multiply it like this. We could do 8 times 40 plus 8 times 3. We could do that, and those would be the same thing. They equal the same amount. Those are equal. This is the same as this. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so this is actually the distributive property. This and this. That's what the distributive property tells us that we can do. We can break up numbers into their place value, and we can multiply them in different orders and then add them back together. Okay? So that's all that that does. Now, when we're doing it in the form of multiply, we're going to look at it in a little bit different ways. We're going to set it up in a way that will kind of help us keep track of it a little bit better when we get to those bigger numbers. So, for example, we would draw a box, because what we want to do here is 8 times 40 plus 8 times 3. Okay, so we can separate those out. So we could do 8 times 40. Anybody know what 8 times 40 is? At the top of their head, 8 times 40, Heather?
320.
320, yes. 320. And then we could do 8 times 3. Anybody 8 times 3? Yes, Heather?
24.
24. So we've done this. just kind of in this box method, and that's just to keep us organized. Okay? So we've done that. 40 times 8 is 320, and 8 times 3 is 24. Then we add these back together, so we do 320 plus 24, and that would give us 4 plus 0 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 4, 0 plus 3 is 3. So we would have 8 times 43 equals 344. Okay? So we expand it out and then multiply each place value separately and then add them back together at the end. Okay? Now, probably some of you have probably seen this. Probably not all of you, but some of you have probably seen this. Okay? But most of you, probably 99.9999% of you, have seen multiplication done like this, where you have 43 times 8, and you do 8 times 3 is 24, 8 times 4 is 32, plus 2 is 34, and that's how you've done it. Yes? Okay? This is called the algorithm, the standard algorithm. Okay? And that's just the standard way that we multiply. It's not the only way, though. Okay? This is also a valid way to multiply. It's called the distributive property. So we can definitely multiply like that. Okay? So you might have heard this called an array or a box method. Okay? And it's both of these are equal. Okay? So if you are used to doing it this way, you can do that this way most of the time. Tonight, though, on tonight's homework, I'm going to ask you to try it like this. Okay, because it's important to understand different ways to multiply for sure, but more importantly, I want you to get that practice of kind of expanding numbers and multiplying different place values together so that you get to practice with the distributive property a little bit, because we will be using that later. And so if you get a little practice now, it won't be such a shock later. So tonight, I'm going to ask you to do all your homework with the box method here. And then tomorrow, going forward, if you hate the box method and you don't ever want to do it again, you can definitely do it this way, that you've done it before. However, if you are like, oh, and it happened in a couple classes today, I've had kids go, oh, this is a great way to multiply, I'm never going back the other way, I love this method. So if you love doing the box method, you are free to do it that way as well. Okay? This is just another way to do it. Okay? So, let's take a look at a little bit harder problem. Let's take a look at another example. Let's look at 26 times 51. Okay? Now the first thing we want to do is kind of expand those problems out. So 26 would also be looked at as 20, 2 tens, plus 6 ones, times 5 tens, or 50, plus 1 1. Okay, so that's expanded out. That's how it would also look. Then you set that up into your box. Right? I'm going to put 20 plus 6 and 50 plus 1. Okay? And so again, the box is the distributive property like we had up here. The box is just, it allows us to stay a little bit more organized. Okay? So we're going to multiply, now that we have broken up each place value, we're going to multiply each place value. Okay? So we're going to do 50 times 20. Does anybody know what 50 times 20 is? Some mental math, Max?
10,000?
No.
1,000?
1,000, yes. 1,000. 20 times 1. Anybody? 20 times 1? Bianca?
20.
Yes. 20. 50 times 6. 50 times 6. 50 times 6. 6 groups of 50. Jordan?
3,000.
A little high. 6 groups of 50. Brody, help him out.
300.
Yes, 300. 6 times 1. Right? 6, yes, thank you. Okay, so we multiplied each place value by the other place values, and now that we have the multiplication done, again, we're going to add them back together. So we have 1,000 plus 300 plus 20 plus 6. 6 plus 3 zeros is just 6. 2 plus 2 zeros is 2. 3 plus 1 zero is 3. And then the 1. So 1,326. So 26 times 51 equals 1,326. Okay. Questions so far? Anybody? Okay. Let's take a look at a little bit harder one. It's going to be important that we know how to do these a few larger digits. So let's look at 274 times 39. Okay, so again, we want to expand that. Step 1, expand. Expand that number. Okay, so 200, right, we have 200s plus 7 tens, which is 70, plus 4 ones, times 39, so we have 30, or 3 tens, plus 9 ones. Okay, so that's the expanding right there. Expanding that out. You're basically separating out each of the place values. 2 hundreds, 70, 7 tens, and 4 ones. Okay, expanding it out. Okay. Next step is to put those in a, again, the box is for no other reason than to just keep us organized. Okay? You don't necessarily have to have the box. The box just keeps it organized for us. Okay? So I'm going to set this up. So this is going to be 30. This is going to be 30 plus 9 ones. And then this section will be my hundreds, 200. This section will be my 70, and then over here will be my 4 ones. Okay? So that is step 2, then is multiply each place value. So in other words, that's the box part. Okay? 200 plus 70, 200. So 200 times 30. Anybody know what 200 times 30 is? 30 200s. 30 groups of 200. What would it be? Lauren? Yes. 2 times 3 is 6. 1, 2, 3 zeros is 6,000. 30 times 70. 30 times 70. Heather?
2,100.
Yes. 2,100. And 30 times 4. 30 times 4. Max?
120.
Yes, exactly. 120. Okay. 9 times 200. 9 times 200. Yes?
1,800.
Exactly. 1,800. 9 times 70? Heather?
630.
Yes. 630. And 9 times 4. 9 times 4. Osmari?
36.
Yes. 36. So I multiplied each place value individually by the other place value. And now I'm going to add those up. So I have 6,000 plus 1,800 plus 2,100 plus 630 plus 120 plus 36. And I add those up. 6, and those are all zeros, so that would just be 6. 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 3 more is 8. I see here that I have 8, 9, 10, plus that 6 would be 16, so I carry a 1, 6 here, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10,686. So 274 times 39 equals 10,686. Okay? Which is our third and final step, add. Okay? How do we feel about this? Pretty good? Questions? Oh.